Hey everyone, Bladesofgod here from Hammer Bros Gaming, coming at you with our newest Gears 5 Master Escape Guide. Today we're running the Warren, and with me I have Mr. Beardsley and Pyrociterwatz. For the classes that we're going to be running today, I'm going to be running Brawler, so that's a perspective you'll be seeing. We're going to have Pyrociterwatz running Infiltrator with a bleed damage setup on the shotgun, and Mr. Beardsley's running Anchor for that good boltok bleed damage. The reason these are important is because we're going to have a modifier that creates juvies that are more melee resistant, so you can't just melee them down as easily as you normally can. Speaking of modifiers, let's take a look at this map's modifiers. We've got shock juvie, so all melee attacks from juvies cause a shock chain. We've got more juvie health, we have melee resistant juvies, and ghost juvies. So this is a really juvie centered map. Along with that, we also have more health, more lethal, and Iron Man. So you've got some really damaging juvies here. There's a lot of juvies, and that's actually one of the reasons we bring the Brawler. When the Brawler uses his dash and bash ability and can cause that chain explosion, there's a skill card that causes burning enemies to explode when they die. They will actually set other enemies near them on fire, and that damage counts as regular damage, so that's not melee damage. So that's why we're focusing on dash and bash and bleed, just to kind of get these juvies off the board as quickly as we can. So let's dive right into the map here. As soon as you come out of the door, you're going to come to this kind of split where you can go left or right. We take the right-hand path. It doesn't matter because eventually it leads to the same area. But what you want to be careful of is that you will have some enemies circle around behind you and kind of cross in front of where the spawn room was. So you're going to want to be careful of that. And what we have doing here, or what we have going on here for a strategy, is that playing the Brawler, I'm fairly melee resistant well, I'm resistant to melee damage both normally and while I'm sprinting. So I'm going down, trying to mix it up with those juvies as Pyro and Beardsley stay back. The big issue with this map is that right at the beginning, you face quite a few enemies and you don't have any weapons. Thankfully, we had a Grenadier come up on us, and we were able to get him down and get Pyro a shotgun, so that's going to put him in the fight a little bit. But basically what you're going to want to do is have your two other classes hang back and not really engage. They're going to just try to survive as best they can while I clean up these juvies as best I can. You can see here that Grenadier came from the backside. We've got a drone that's coming around the back. I actually took cover there instead of sliding to that middle cover, so I ended up getting downed. But not a big deal because thankfully Pyro is just doing a great job because Beardsley was down as well. So I rush up here, take this drone off the board, so we're not going to have to worry about enemies behind us. So anyway, as I was saying, we're going to continue sort of sitting in this area. We don't want to push really, really fast. You actually just want to take this map a little bit at a time so you don't spawn in too many enemies. But once you get past that first area, you're going to hang a right. Be careful because there's some usually hunters in this area. I've seen both Marksa and torque bow hunters, so be wary that there are enemies around the corner here. But you're going to want to come through and hit this safe room, and there's a very, very important reason for that. A, it's going to give you ammo for both your Anchor and your Infiltrator class. And B, there's a boom shot in here, which is going to make things a little bit easier when it comes to the finale. We don't actually use the boom shot until the very end, but it's definitely worthwhile. And then the third reason it's important is this sniper rifle right here. It doesn't really matter, since we're not running a marksman class or any explosive bleed, who grabs what weapons, but the big thing is just making sure you pick up this sniper rifle, making sure you pick up the boom shot, and you're going to see later on, especially in the second half of the map, or the second act of this map, that these weapons are going to make a big difference as far as how easily, I don't want to say easily, but how readily you can handle the opposition. So here we're just taking our time and kind of deciding who's going to grab what. You can see the Venom, faster Venom is not on in this map, so the Venom is taking its sweet time. We've not moved very fast, and we're just into the early Venom, so you really don't need to push very fast. You can take your time. Like I said, spawn in a few enemies at a time, go through the doorways a few at a time rather than doing them a bunch at once, just so you don't end up getting too many enemies. So this spot right here, this is actually another reason that I like running the Brawler in this section, is I like to use the ultimate, the train right here. It's a narrow pathway, there's not a lot of ways to advance, and instead of trying to just pick our way through, I use my ultimate, run up, dash and bash these enemies down, and that just clears it out, gives us a little bit of breathing room. Because what's going to happen is you're actually going to have juvies coming up behind you, and if you don't advance, you're going to get trapped between the drones and these juvies. So you can see right here, I just bashed one enemy, or one juvie, it exploded, took out 2 or 3 more juvies. And this is why you like to use this Brawler class in these narrow choke points where you can get a bunch of juvies bunched up together. So you can see I'm taking shock damage, but because I have my sprinting or damage resistance while sprinting card on, even that shock chain isn't doing a whole lot of damage to me. And it makes this Brawler class almost custom made for this map. One other thing that you do need to be aware of, however, is that when you dash and bash a juvie, the explosion when they die from the, I can't remember what it's called, I think it's All the Glory, when they die and explode, that explosion can actually hurt your allies. So be wary of where your allies are standing when you dash or bash into a juvie. So anyway, you can see we hit up that other ammo room on the right. There's nothing really specific in there you need to get, but you can just stock up on ammo. You can see I've got almost a full long shot right now. I know Beardsley and Pyro are both full with their boltok and their Nasher. And then once you're ready, come up into this kind of, on the mini-map, it looks like a circle. And it's the last room before the safe room. And you're going to face a Scion here. We get an Ice Scion. I don't think it's always an Ice Scion, but the few times we ran this map, it was an Ice Scion for us. And basically what you're going to want to do is, I sit back here and snipe as best I can to sort of thin out the drones. You have a couple of juvies who end up running up, and you don't have a lot of room to maneuver in here. But again, because that venom isn't very fast, you can always fall back if you start getting overwhelmed, and even fall back to that ammo room if you need a hard point to hold. So again, you see that Beardsley and Pyro are sort of moving up a little bit, cautiously pressing up, trying to get that Scion to come out, and there he is. He just popped around the corner there. Beardsley actually ended up getting frozen while trying to bleed out the Scion, but thankfully hitting him with headshots stunned him long enough to get Beardsley unfrozen. And that's pretty much it, guys. You can see we're right at the safe room already. First half of the map's not that bad as long as you take your time. Just, be patient. Don't try to rush it. Don't try to sprint by the enemies, because if you get held up and you can see right here that we had one juvie get through that door and nearly downed us. But yeah, just take your time, be patient, don't spawn in too many enemies, and don't get surrounded. We kind of skipped the safe room there just because there's just some ammo. Divvy up the ammo and nades that are in there as you see fit. And the big thing right now is as soon as you come out of that safe room into the second act, whoever has the sniper rifle is going to want to come right up to this front railing and just start sniping some of these enemies to thin out their ranks. They are going to spread left and right because there's a path to the left and the right. There's going to be a few juvies, but the big threats that you need to watch out for at this point are those Claw Elite drones and the Scion. We got a Buzzkill Scion. I think I remember seeing a Mulcher Scion here before, so it's not always going to be a Buzzkill Scion. But make sure you take him off the board because he can cause you some pretty big headaches if you don't take him out. And then, like I said, just clean up the rest of these enemies. Don't advance too far until you're sure you've cleaned up the majority, if not all of these enemies. Again, faster venom is not on, so you have plenty of time. You do not need to rush, because when you get to this point, you're going to get rushed by juvies again. And there's a path to the left and the right, so there's a ammo room on both sides. There's plenty of ammo here, so your Infiltrator and your Anchor can go nuts with their weapons. They don't have to be conservative with their ammo usage. They will be able to top themselves back off. But what we were trying to do was get Beardsley and Pyro to go into one of the ammo rooms and then let me take care of all of these juvies. But that didn't really work out. Beardsley went to the room on the left, and that ammo room on the left is actually going to have 2 or 3 additional juvies in it. So be wary of that. What we were supposed to do here, and what I would recommend doing, is having your non-brawler class go to the right safe room or right ammo room, and close the door behind them, load up on ammo, and then open the door up and kind of use that as a choke point. So if the juvies want to go at them, they're going to come through one spot, and you can kind of have 2 people shooting into the doorway and really limit how many juvies can get in. And like I said, you're just going to see me out here going to town using the dash and bash and that burning explosion to really, really thin out those juvies and take them down pretty quickly. Not much else to say about this section. Just keep on the move if you're playing the Brawler. Continuously run in circles until you get a chance to dash into an enemy like that. your sprint is faster than the juvies run, so as long as you're not, as long as you're still running or you're still sprinting, you're not going to get hit unless you happen to just run right by a juvie. So it's a fairly safe tactic. You could see even taking a few hits with the shock chain, I still didn't end up going down during that entire fight. So it's definitely a safe tactic. I would strongly recommend, like I've said before, running the Brawler for this map for this reason right here. So anyway, again, once we have all of these enemies cleaned up, all the juvies cleaned up, raid both ammo rooms. There's shock nades in here. And I'm going to swap out, I got a frag, but I'm going to swap out a shock because I prefer running shock nades for the last door hold. You can see my long shot is topped off. Beardsley and Pyro are both topped off. We close the doors behind us for the ammo room so that way we don't end up having enemies sneak up on us. And then this part right here, this is another reason why we always run the Brawler class for this map. This little narrow pathway, you are going to have a ton of juvie swarm, and you can see their silhouettes because they're ghost juvies, but just look at the info feed on that bottom left corner to how many I'm killing. Activate the train, run through there, you're going to start a chain reaction. Sometimes it'll go a lot better than that, where you're going to have them just continuously popping off and setting each other on fire. And you can see right here, I'm just still dashing and bashing. I actually came close to getting down there. I was trying to get, I think it was Beardsley back up, but I decided to just keep bashing, and just like that, I cleared out all of those juvies. It's really, really tough to do, even with melee classes like the Protector or the Blade Master. It's really difficult to take on that many juvies without having this chain explosion ability. So once we get through that area, once we get through that bottleneck with the ton of juvies, we're going to end up in our last big room. This is a very big open room right before the door, the exit. And you can see I'm using the sniper rifle, going to town, just picking off these enemies from a distance. Beardsley's getting up there with his boltok, trying to get some bleed damage going. Unfortunately, because I wasn't sprinting, I ended up getting downed right there from a combination of the juvie shock chain and that Buzzkill Scion's Buzzkill blades. And this gets a little sketchy. That Buzzkill actually bounced a couple of blades around the corner at me. But Pyro runs up there using his shotgun to try to bleed out the Scion, and he ended up getting down before he died, but he got the kill. The Scion's off the board, so that's good. And you can see we're just falling back. We're not even in the early venom. So again, you could continue to fall back if you feel like you're getting pushed too much, but there's not a ton of enemies in this first section. We handled this room in basically two halves. The front half is where we are now, and we have these enemies on the board, and then the second half is the half behind kind of that catwalk area you can get up onto. And what you want to do is make sure you clean out this front half first, and then we go all the way to the right and try to take the high ground so we can have a better angle on the second half of this room. You can see I knew there was an enemy down there shooting at us, but I didn't get a good angle on him, so I said, screw it, I'm just going to take the high ground and try again. So we're going to come up here. Beardsley is doing his best with that boltok to get some bleed going on these enemies. And again, with the long shot, I kind of come up to this front corner here, start spotting out enemies so the guys, my teammates, know exactly where they are. I actually got snuck up on by an elite grenadier here, but thankfully Beardsley was there with the melee to take him out. It's good covering my back on that. And again, you don't need to rush. We're sitting up here looking down, trying to spot the enemies and snipe them without getting too close, because you do have a lot of claw enemies, and even though the Coalition nerfed the damage and accuracy of the claws, if you get a couple of them firing at you at once, they're going to down you really quick, and you're actually going to see it right here. I wasn't playing it very smart. I sort of got a little overconfident, and I ended up getting downed by those elite drones. So be careful, stay in cover, and just take your time. Like I said, between the anchor and his boltok bleed and whoever's carrying the sniper rifle, you should have no problems thinning these guys out enough to advance, as long as you don't shoot your cover like I did right there. But yeah, just work on your chain kills. Something else to keep in mind on Master Escape, you want to use the triple melee execution. I haven't talked about that yet in this guide or this video. And what that is if you get close enough to melee an enemy and you're using controller, it would be the B button to melee. So you press B, B, and then press and hold B a third time. What that's going to do is you're going to melee the enemy. melee him a second time, and that's going to stun him, and then press and hold B the third time to execute the enemy. It is very, very helpful. I'd say it's almost, on some maps, not necessarily this map, but on some maps it's almost necessary in order to get through on Master. But it's just a very handy trick to know. It's not really taught anywhere in the game, but definitely worth knowing. So, you can see that I expanded the rest of my long shot ammo, so I picked up a claw just so I had a weapon on hand that had some ammo in it. Beardsley's back there. He actually spotted another claw and another shock grenade that I missed. But we're already at the end here, guys. This is at the last hold, the helipad or the door hold, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to set a shock nade on the ground right here just to help slow down some of the juvies that come out. You can see that I've got my ultimate available, so the train is ready to go if need be. And what we're going to do is we're going to sit here and basically hold off these juvies as long as we can with our conventional weapons. I'll have the train on standby in case things get a little hairy, and I can use that to clean up a lot of these enemies all at once. Pyro's going to town. He's used a flash grenade to stun some of the enemies. He's doing his shotgun work. And you can see right here, I used the train to help clean up some of these enemies that are out back here. We got, for whatever reason, the train was still going, but I lost the flame effect around me. But we got everybody up, we made it out, and that's just about it, guys. Clean up any of the juvies that made it out the door, and you're good to go. So that's it. I really hope that this guide helped. I hope you've been finding this series helpful. Take care of yourselves, and until next time, bye-bye. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more content like this, please like and subscribe. You can also check us out on Twitch at HammerBros Gaming. I am Bladesofgod, and until next time, have a great day everyone.